these jobs were computer engineers, accountants, and lawyers. Of those three professions, 412,000 jobs lost just in 1 year, totaling in $27 billion in wages shipped overseas. That's more than the government spent annually on climate control during Obama's time in office. During a random survey conducted by US News of CFOs, 38% admitted that their companies had been shipping jobs overseas in order to gain an advantage over their competitors. Between 2001 and 2003, the US lost 3.2 million jobs to China, and of those, 3/4 were in manufacturing. And according to this graph, I don't know if you can see, but the blue line shows the capacity for employment in manufacturing, and the green line shows how many people were actually employed in manufacturing in the United States. And as you can see, as it approaches the later years, the blue line consistently goes higher than the green line, showing that there's more manufacturing jobs available in the US, but there's less actually being held. Many politicians say that this bill is just a matter of politics because it was written entirely by Democrats and it was composed of 28 different people. And that this may just be a matter of politics to make Trump look bad because constantly in politics, the other side is trying to take advantage of what they find is weak in an opponent. However, out of the 28 Democrats who made this bill, 12 of them were from Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, why is this important? Well, between Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, as you can see on these graphs later, because it's kind of small, but 14% of those states accounted for 14% of the manufacturing jobs in all of the United States. And that's 1.738 million jobs. And that's annually. So Democrats in this regard, especially these people who are working for their states that have plenty of manufacturing, are not necessarily pushing for politics to make Trump look weak, but they're supporting Trump's good ideas and forcing him to provide action that goes along with them. Now, Trump definitely needs to lead by example if he's to get actions across. For example, Pope Francis, rather than living in a luscious house, chose to live in the guest house to show that you don't need luxury in order to succeed in life, and quote said, he wanted to quote, live in a community with others rather than be above everybody else. In 2004, Trump signed a deal with Phillips Van Heusen, which is a shirt company which manufactures shirts in over 85 different companies. That was the first deal that Trump made of many that led to his personal work being outsourced to different countries. For example, Ivanka Trump's merchandise, if you look at her website, has 838 products. Of those 838 products, 628 of them are imported. And of those 628, 354 are specifically from China. Now, there is an issue that this is going to take time away from other issues, because although Trump hasn't addressed this directly, in the first 6 weeks of office, he's issued 34 executive orders. And although none were about outsourcing jobs, he still was getting things done, and mostly about immigration and other reforms that, at the moment, he finds more urgent. He even is quoted saying about healthcare that it's an unbelievably complex subject, and nobody knew healthcare could be so complicated, but he has a fantastic plan to back it up, similar to this, where he doesn't provide an actual course of action. I believe personally that the Overseas Outsourcing Accountability Act needs to be passed to push overseas outsourcing to the forefront of Trump's plans, because day by day there are more jobs outsourced to different countries, and it's an issue that's constantly getting worse and worse. Trump definitely needs to be held accountable for his words as well. He's constantly been saying during his time before being elected president that he's, quote, sick of reading about outsourcing. Why aren't we talking about onshoring? We need to bring manufacturing jobs back to where they belong in the United States. And then he went on to castigate companies like Apple, Ford, Carrier, and Kraft, saying that he's going to impose 15% taxes on those that outsource jobs, and 20% on those importing products, and even up to 45% on Chinese imports. But 6 weeks into his office, we've seen none of these plans put into action. He's quoted even saying, "Many businesses that leave our country for another, fires its employees, builds a new factory or plant, and sells its products back to the United States will be punished." Now he needs to live up to his words. Trump's remarks are part of the reason why he got elected president. And many of his remarks were about jobs being shipped overseas. Now, when one of us is having a conversation with a friend or someone else we know, and we make promises, we're expected to uphold those promises. So if we're expected to uphold our promises, shouldn't the President of the United States be expected to uphold his? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.